Go for it.
And we are live. Howdy, everybody. See
crap.
that we got a few people. You feel like crap. So I'll probably be talking
the
most
crap
tonight.
Probably, yeah.
The count says we have nobody in the. Oh, here we go. It updated. I was going to say, but I know I counted about 5 people in here. So,
yep.
But
oh yeah,
we'll give a few more people. We'll give a few more people time to get in here and set up. In the meantime, apologize for last week. As Kelly told you guys, I was not feeling worth nothing. I had been sick earlier that week or the latter part of the week before, and got some medication to try to get that squared away, and I had an adverse effect to the medication. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to come in and do anything. But Kelly had a good time with old Palmetto Cats, along with LG Bass Tom. So that was a plus. It looked like it was a good show. I was able to come in through the chats a little bit then. When I got to feeling a little bit better, felt like coming online. But I appreciate Kelly doing that, of course, as always. So that is a beautiful thing, Chad. And you and I were talking about earlier about the possibility of a show in the near future for yourself, and you got a good what you and I talked about. Got a good idea for a venue. But the one good thing about having a co-host is the fact that if one of the other of you get sick or can't make it into the show can still continue. So
yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So Kelly, other than you feeling bad, what's been up with you, bud?
Except for we've got a premiere coming out on the 3+1 Outdoors channel this Thursday night. Of my Monster Blue Cat.
That's right. Called that Monster
Blue Cat.
So that's looking forward to that.
I've got one tomorrow, don't you?
Yeah, coming up tomorrow night.
Yep.
Where it's the last of the footage that I have from whenever I made my trip up to Lake Wiley, and fished with Richard Warscow and Justin Mullador from Justin's Fishing Fetish, which I believe he will probably be in here shortly. He was having McDonald's. we got to talking about McDonald characters yesterday, and so they had a craving for McDonald's today. And so he was actually getting
I had to go pick up my little one a Happy Meal today.
There you go.
There you go. I got McDonald's too.
Yeah, I just got done eating McDonald's as well.
I was going to say I was going to tell him Chad.
I ate half of mine just before the show. I'll eat the other half when I'm done.
There you go, man. There you go. Yeah. So yeah, we got that coming up and everything, and but I wanted to brag a little bit on your catch there, Kelly. That was a good catch, man.
Appreciate
as far as that fish, I'm looking forward to watching that premiere and seeing you holler and yell concerning how big that fish was. I cannot wait to see that.
Oh yeah.
I
can already see it's going to be a fun video.
Oh, I imagine so. I can't wait for it to come out. Looking forward to it. I see we got 12 in so far into the chats.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see who all we got in here. I'm gonna run it from the top down. 922 was in. I assume that he still is. 351 Cleveland. Let's see who else we got here. Whoops. Let's try that again. Laughing Cats. Laughing Cat Fishing, that is. Got Serena's Keeping It Real. Glad to see y'all. Dale Hayslips in the house. Mr. LG Bass Tom is in. Thank you, Tom, again, buddy, for stepping in for me last week. I appreciate everything that you did for Kelly and I, considering I was not feeling nowhere near being online. Thought I might have had to hit you up, see if you wanted to co-host with me tonight. Kelly wasn't feeling too hot this afternoon.
Oh, trust me. I got home. I got home and hit the recliner, and that's where I've been all day.
I imagine so.
I just now got up.
Yeah, we got. Let's see who else we got. We got Sogo. Was Cody from 3+1 Outdoors. Yeah, Cody says Kelly's got a famous tournament angler on the show tonight. Dang, Kelly, you big time now.
Hey, Chad wouldn't be on here if it wasn't for Kevin. So hey.
Let's see who all CLG Sogo Apex Predator Outfitters. Appreciate you coming in. Let's see, Deer Slayer. There you go. Who else we got besides that? Fishing with the Squirrel. Let's see. Who else? Who am I missing? Is that everybody for the moment?
We've got, let's see.
Got Lance McAway. I think that's how Makugay. I can't pronounce it.
Lance Makuga.
That's it. Makuga. I couldn't remember how to pronounce it. The Hawaiian fisherman that lives in Texas. I think it's Texas. I think it's where he lives. I thought that was pretty.
That's the cool guy. That's Lance the cool guy.
Lance the cool guy. There you go. Let's see. 351. Palmetto, Kevin. He's in the house.
What's up, Kevin?
Let's see. Cody, Palmetto, Lance. And I think we're up to date as far as right now is concerned.
We got 17 people in the house.
17 and climbing. That's a good thing. Yep. And
I think Kevin's going to be known as Low Country now.
He's going to be known as Low Country. Somebody else already starts. Who was it? Squirrel, I think, calls him Low Country. Catfish regulators. Every time I see catfish regulators come into a chat, I think about regulators mount up.
Well, if you think about his merchandise, that's what one of his merchandise is. It says mount up on it.
Oh, does it? I did not know that.
Yeah, that's Mr. Aaron.
Kevin said, "Don't say it too loud; they might hear you." I'm not calling him Low Country.
Low Country, yeah. Shh, don't tell him.
All right, well, let's see. I'm showing 20 in the chat, so let's go ahead and get this party really started. As you all can see, we have Chad Bailey from SizeMatters fishing in the chat tonight. He was gracious enough to be able to come in and talk with us a little bit about what he does and his tournament fishing and where he fishes and what he likes to do, and anything and everything else in between. So thank you, Chad, for coming into the chat with us tonight, buddy.
I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to come on here. I just noticed, and I'm always kind of humbled, when I get to come on somebody else's show and you get to intermingle with their audience, and it's so different because, every one of us, each individual person throughout the catfish industry, you kind of got your own, your own group and your own following. So I'm going through reading the comments right here. If you guys see me kind of looking down to the side, I actually got my computer right here. So I can read the comments live,
That's right.
Good size right here. But it's just cool seeing, all the guys that are used to watching your show and seeing them get on here. It's just, it's pretty cool seeing, different names than what I'm used to seeing when I go live. So that's probably the coolest part about it. You kind of get to share your story with other people, and that's a blessing, man. It really is. So I appreciate you guys having me on here.
It's not a problem, man. I've known about you now for, I think, going on 3 years or so, seen some of your videos and, fishing with the kids and, of course, your tournament videos and everything. And you and I talked a little bit a couple of days or so ago concerning talking about tournament fishing and everything. I remembered you having a guide service. And you and I, we talked a little bit about that you had a little, that you down there where you live there in Florida. It's Florida, right? You're in Florida, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm in Florida.
Yeah. And there was where you where you lived. You had a little bit of a guide service, and you and I were talking. And you made the statement that you don't have that anymore, or at least it's not at the moment, anyways. That you haven't revived that aspect of your fishing. Tell us a little bit about that. How'd that come about?
Yeah. So I was, growing up, once I kind of got into the whole catfishing thing, you know, you're always wanting to, you know, I mean, we all do it. You know, you always take a buddy fishing and kind of spread your love of what you know, and you know, anybody that you can put on a fish or teach them something new. You know, you want to go out there and do that. And I, over the years, I just had so many requests to, hey, you should guide, man. You know, you should do this professionally. And ultimately, probably in about 2015 or 16, I kind of started tinkering with it, and you know, kind of started building up a little bit of clientele, and you know, and getting all the stuff, you know, going and on. And I was doing real well. I actually worked at the prison. I actually worked at the Department of Corrections for 10 years straight out of high school, and that was my career. You know what I mean? And fishing was just kind of a side gig, something that I enjoyed doing. And as I started guiding it, you know, it got to the point where I said, you know, I think I could pay the bills doing this. So I actually left the prison to venture out and actually guide full time. And within a year after me leaving the prison to guide full time, Hurricane Michael come through, and it come directly over the community that I live in. And I mean, it just devastated. I mean, we in Florida, we're known for getting hit by hurricanes and all. And I mean, a lot of times it's you know, I mean, I don't want to say a laughing matter, but I mean, most of the time they come in, you know, and we're ready to face them. We're just kind of used to it, you know, what to do and how to, you know, how to bypass them. But this was the different. Hurricane Michael was a different animal. I mean, it was something that was literally like being in the middle of a tornado for 4 hours, 150 mile an hour sustained winds, you know, just destroyed everything. Well, it destroyed a lot of our local boat ramps, and it just devastated the river. I mean, just millions of trees and timber down into the river. That caused a die off of a lot of fish that we had. You know, all them trees, once they got in the you know, trees produce oxygen when they're out of the water, but when they fall in the water, they suck up all the oxygen out of the water. Right. And it created a huge die off, and it just got to where it was really hard to keep the clientele down here. There was nowhere for them to stay when they got down. The river was devastated. The boat ramps were shut down for 6 months or a year, and I actually went back and started doing construction because obviously there was a major need for construction. And I've been in the construction field, and I'm a commercial superintendent now. And you know, it's hard to leave the living that it's provided me and my family with. But
yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, and you know, and for right now, I've kind of decided that what a lot of people don't realize, you know, and I see a lot of people go out all the time. So I'm gonna start a guide service. I'm gonna tell you what, I mean, you know, those guides out there, they work a lot harder than people realize. I mean, it's just real easy to look at the fun side of it. You know, it's a blessing to be able to do it, but I mean, you really got to work. I mean, it's every day getting bait, keeping up the certifications, figuring out how to keep your boat safe, and you know, the best tackle, the best rods, the best reels. I mean, it's always relining and retying, and you know, bait is just a nonstop thing. Right. And ultimately, I kind of decided, you know, look, you know, if I'm not going to do it full time, I'm not going to do it at all. Yeah. So I still take a lot of people fishing, but now I focus more on the social media side of it. You know, I can share that experience and do a lot through social media with just posting videos and tips and tricks and doing that. And it's been a real blessing for me, you know, to kind of change the path, but still be in the catfish world. So I'm still blessed, but I don't think I'd go back to guiding right now, just because I've done it for a few years, and it's a lot of work. It really is.
I know a lot of people, a lot of local people, that is, that know that I have a YouTube channel, and of course they know that I catfish a lot, as well as other fishing, of course. And you know, they've seen some of my videos with Pop 9, and you know, and then they've seen where I've taken some people out and you know, and just had a good time fishing. And we got on some fish, nothing major, but it was still, you know, anytime you catch a fish with somebody on your boat, it's always a blessing. And and it's a fun day. And so regardless of the size, especially if as long as they're having fun, you're good, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and so I've had a lot of people say, well, why don't you start you know, doing a guide service on Sinclair? I was like, no. I don't think so. I don't want nothing to do with it.
It is, man. It's tough, and I really wish people, and I'll say this, you know what I mean, and maybe somebody can take something away from this, because I do not guide anymore. Right. I don't guide anymore. I get an email or a message at least once a day saying, hey, I'd like to book a trip, and I have to go through the whole spiel. And, hey, I apologize that I don't guide anymore. If it works out to where somebody's in my area, and I can bless them by taking them fishing on a day that I have, by all means, I'd do anything I can to still take people fishing. But one thing I really wish people would realize is those guides that are out there, don't think it's just free money. I mean, those guys work, and, I don't care if they charge $100, a trip, or if they charging $800 or $1,000 a trip. If you want to fish with the best people, you got to be ready to pay those prices, because, the best guide, he knows his worth, and it's just like anything else. I mean, you want to really learn from the best out there. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to pay for it, and but because that's their living. But right. There's a lot more that goes into it, I think, than some people realize. Because
you're out, you're getting bait. You're out getting bait. You're scouting your areas for them days before, looking for fish. So, I mean, you're not just that day taking them out. It's multiple days before the trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those that tournament fish, like you do, and like I have, and everything. It's a lot of work to go into a tournament. It's not the money you spend going into the tournament, or for the gas, or for the equipment, or that's a given. You don't have to do that anytime you go fishing, but you're going to work. If you're going to go into that tournament and you're going to try and if you don't even if you don't win, you want to be up in the ranks. You want to be running with the pack. That's for sure. Okay. Yeah. And it takes work, man. It takes, like Kelly was saying, it takes a couple of days going out there and fishing spots. And, if you've ever fished that particular lake, going back to the spots that you were in at that particular time to see if they're still there. If they're not, not to mention the fact of the weather. You got to see, what's the weather been like the last couple of days? What is it going to be like the day of? You got to look at the barometric levels,
the barometric pressure. You got to look at the pressure. What's been going on
there? I mean, there's a lot, and a lot of people do not realize that about tournament fishermen. There's those that have decided to go in and put their skills to the test. It takes a lot, and it's a lot of knowledge that has to be. Anybody can enter a tournament. That's a given, but not just anybody can go out there and do well in a tournament. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah, and there's a huge difference, and this is something that I've learned. There's a huge difference in going out to your local body of water, fishing your local fruit jar tournament or your monthly, tournament series that's on your local bodies of water, where you can go to that hole that you've caught fish at your whole life, that everybody knows. You can hit those community holes and give yourself a chance. Yeah, I mean, when you get to that level, anybody can go out and have a good night, and do well in the tournament. And sometimes that can be kind of tough on you, because you go out, and you think, hey, I'm ready to do this. You go out and you fish a tournament, and you go to your spot, and those fish are there that night, and you catch them, you win it or you place, and then you think, hey, I'm unstoppable. I knew I could do this. Then then you get licked for about 2 years in a row right there thinking, dude, how are these guys catching these fish? But you can get away with certain things at a local tournament. But, when you go out and you spend a $400 or $500 entry fee to fish an out-of-state tournament that's 8 or 10 hours from your house, where you have a 2-day tournament, or you have to go up there a week in advance to say, hey, I've never been on this body of water. I got to learn something. I got to have a plan A, B, C, D, E. And then I got to be ready to throw everything that happened this week out, because the weather will always be different on tournament day.
Yeah,
you can count on it. Something's always going to break. So you got to, you really have to be able to overcome. So those guys that go out to those big tournaments and consistently do well, those guys know a lot more than, you know, than I think a lot of us give them credit for.
Well, you know, one of the things that I look at, I should say, so when I started tournament fishing, and of course I know we segued into the tournament aspect of what I got ahead of ourselves a little bit because of what I was talking about, but since we're in it, when I started doing tournament fishing, I started it with the idea that I could take the knowledge that I had accumulated in a short amount of time, on my home, you know, like you said, on homebody lakes. All right. And I can apply that knowledge to other lakes. And, you know, I went into the very first tournament. Truthfully, the very first tournament I ever went into was Patriot James tournament back in 2019 in January. That was the first tournament I ever went into. That, and you talking about the weather dipping on you real quick, like, dude, I froze to death, man. The weather the day before, because I went up about 3 days or 2 or 3 days earlier. Never had fished walleye in my life. Went up about 2 or 3 days earlier to try and get a feel for the lake, try to do a little bait fishing while I was out there. I met up with my boys, you know, Justin and Catman, or Jim, Catman Clark. And that's how we all became brothers ourselves. Kind of formed a little group of our own. But I went up there and the weather was, I mean, it was nice, man. I had little light jackets, you know. I mean, it's January in the South, you know, and so it was all nice. The day of the freaking tournament, son, it turned off cold and only got colder. It sleeted on us. It snowed on us. I mean, it was crazy. Right. And I think we had maybe, I don't remember if it was around 30. It was a small tournament because it was his first one he ever did. I think we only had, it was a small tournament, like 30, 40 people total. And I think 5 or 6 people come in with a catch, and that was it. And the rest of us froze our butts off, you know. But anyways, that was the very first tournament I did, you know. So I cut my teeth on a. I told myself I'll never put myself in a tournament in January again, and I haven't so far. But
it's going to happen. Like I said, tournament day is always going to. Man, you never get perfect conditions on tournament day, and you know, no. I fish winter blues every year, which formerly winter blues. Now it's Bama blues.
Right.
Same concept, man. It's January. You can go up there and you can have a wonderful week, but you know, it ain't gonna be slick and sunny on tournament day. It's gonna be, you can count on it.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, you and I, Chad, we talked about what used to be called Monster Cat Quest there on the Santee Cooper.
Yeah.
And I think
tournament.
And if I remember in 2019, as I was talking with you about it, I think you and I fished that same tournament. And you know, I'd never fished the Santee. I'd never been down there. I'm like 3 to 3.5 hours away from it, and had never been to it. It was my first time going, and I'd been out there a couple of days prior to the first day. You know, it was a 2-day tournament, Friday and Saturday tournament, and I'd been out there a couple of days prior to trying to get up on some spots. I had a buddy of mine that was down there. There was Richard Warskow, to be exact. Was down there, which Richard Warskow is a heck of a fisherman. I give him all the credit. He's helped me tremendously over the years. And he was down there trying to, you know, ahead of me, trying to, you know, find some spots, and so that we'd all come in, do it, you know, and do well. And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, I remember you were in that particular tournament that year, and everything. And if I remember correctly, I don't think you did as well as you wanted to. If I remember that correctly, I don't think none of us did it.
Not at all. Not at all.
You know. I know the first day, if I'm correct, you'll remember this. The first day was beautiful weather. It was a little bit cool that morning, but the rest of the day was a beautiful day. Water was nice. You know, it was able to get a lot of people come into the scales with some good fish. We made our you know, we made our quota and everything. Our catches, because it was 4 fish weigh-ins.
Yeah.
And you know, so we had our creel with some decent fish, not real good fish, but decent fish. And, you know, we felt real good about going back out, you know, and on the next day, and a tornado come through about a county or two over from us. and it chopped that water crazy. I almost sunk my boat out there, and it just chopped that boat so crazy. It was unreal. And a lot of people that were sitting high in the rankings dropped tremendously because of that day. All the fish got moved out. We found out later on. I don't know if you were aware of this yourself. We found out later on that South Carolina DNR come in there and sprayed the channel to there was that canal, I should say, that connects the two lakes. They sprayed it with some sort of a grass killer or something, which ran all the cats away from that area. So we had that on top of the weather. We did well as far as weight was concerned that second day, a lot better than we did the first day. But it was because we got out of the chop and got in behind the islands into that clear and calmer water. And we just decided that's where we were going to stay. There was no sense in trying to kill ourselves if we didn't catch anything great. We had a good time, whatever, and we managed to catch fish. But yeah, that was it's again going back to the fact that you're talking about tournament day. On a body of water like Santee, for instance, or for that matter, what's the lake at Winter Blues? Wheeler on Lake Wheeler, because that's just about as bad of a lake, weather-wise as Santee is. You have to, again, you got to constantly. It's something I learned. It was a learning experience for us, because it was like the second tournament we had been in. It was the first major tournament we were in, and the only second tournament we'd ever been in. And we learned a valuable lesson during that tournament. It prompted me to get a bigger boat, no less. But that's one of the things that we learned was the fact that you have to find. You have to constantly be, checking your weather channels. Looking to see, what's not just right there at you, but what's been around you. What's been happening around you. Counties over. That's how we found out about the tornado. That had been a tornado, a county or two over from us. And those are the things that come with the experience of getting out there on the water, as you probably well know, and also, but
that Santee tournament, that was the first time I'd ever been to Santee, and my wife fished it with me, and we arrived late. We were trying to get up there by Wednesday to do a couple of days of pre-fishing. Well, we didn't get up there until we ended up not getting up there till Thursday night, and it was too late to pre-fish any Thursday. We just wanted to ride out and look at the lake. It was too late. Went straight to the captain's meeting, and they did such a good job on that captain's meeting. I remember that was where they give all the rods to every kid that was in the audience got a free reeling rod, and I got that on video. That's on my YouTube channel.
That's where I knew that. That's how I knew you and I fished that. I knew it was something. So it was the 2019.
Yep. I posted a video, man. The main guy over there at Black's Fish Camp, he donated reeling rods to every single kid under 12 or 15 that attended that event. Every one of them got a free reeling rod. And I just thought that was super cool, man. They called them up on stage during the captain's meeting, and they give those kids their moment, and, the crowd, everybody, all the fishermen give them a good round of applause. I thought it was really cool. I got it on camera, and I was glad I did. But, man, it was right there at night. And we, so when we left out Friday morning for day one, that was the first time we'd seen the lake. And we made a little plan, went and we drug for 6 hours until lunchtime that morning and never got a bite. And it was lunchtime. I told my wife, I was like, hey, let's pull up over here behind this little island. There's a one little old, it was weird. There was a little island out in the middle of nowhere that was like 10 foot wide and it had one tree on it. And we pulled up to it, and it was like 2 foot of water. And we just pulled up to it, and I used my brush gripper and clipped off, and I trimmed my motor down in the back just to keep the boat from swaying around. It trimmed down all the way in the sand there. And we was eating some Vienna sausages and all. We threw our rods out, and we caught like 2 30-pounders there and a couple other fish. We ended the day with we ended day one, had like 65 pounds, and we're in, I don't remember, we were like in the top 30. Yeah. And thinking, hey, we're in striking distance, man, and we could not catch a fish on day two. We went to the same area and was like, hey, these fish are or pushed up shallow. No, they wasn't. They wasn't. Well, there's a bass tournament the second day too, and where we were at was like right in front of a little creek that went back, off the main lake. Well, I'll tell you, it was apparently the most popular creek on Santee because, man, they never stopped. There was one boat after another. They come in and fish that point. We just never got into a rhythm out there.
Were you on the upper lake?
The lower lake.
You were on the lower side, okay?
Yeah,
because of that. There's that second day. We had a bass tournament. We fished the upper lake.
Yeah,
and
we drove up there on day 2. We left the lower lake on day 2 about lunchtime, and kind of threw a Hail Mary and ran to the upper lake just to see because there's some deep water up there.
Oh yeah,
and man, we got up there and it was rough and crazy up there. The lower lake was calmer than the upper lake was that day, and we got up there and as soon as we got up there, I was like, "Yep, this was a dumb mistake." And we turned around. I think we fished the next hour or 2 in the canal there, and we pretty much give up after we seen after we made that run.
Yeah,
but, it was humbling. I want to go back.
I was gonna say, Murillo Family Fishing was stating that he says, "You guys have any positive guiding or tournament stories to change the vibe here? It isn't all bad and storms and hard times. Turn my frown upside down." It's good with the bad sometimes. Good with the bad.
Hey, I'll tell you a good one. Last year, this is a tournament story. So last year we fished the Cat Masters Classic and that was on Lake Wheeler. It was supposed to be Wheeler, Wilson, Gunnersville. It was a 3-day event. You had to fish. You was like, you'd either draw. It was luck of the draw. You either draw Gunnersville day 1, and then Wilson day 2. And if you made the championship, it would be on Wheeler on day 3, and only half the field or the top X amount would go on to the championship day. Well, the first day got rained out. It was just absolute terrible weather. They made the right call. They canceled day 1. So what they did was day 2, you got to choose. Then you didn't have to go to one or the other. You could choose. You could either go to Wilson or Gunnersville. Well, I love Wilson. That's my favorite lake to fish. But I fished 2 days pre-fishing on Wilson, and in 2 days we never caught a fish. And I said, no, let's go to Gunnersville. I'd never been on Gunnersville, but it was moving a lot of current. So we ran up the river and just bumped it back. We'd hit a spot and go down, hit the next pile of brush. Anyways, we needed 75 and a half pounds to make it to the championship day, and we got 75 pounds even. So we got in by half a pound. So day 2, we were in the championship day. Half the field was eliminated. We ran way up. So I said, the way we fished Gunnersville yesterday, let's just fish Wheeler the same way. And I'm one to where I always like to go on Wheeler. If you launch in Decatur, you're right in the middle of the lake. So if you head back to the east, you go and it turns into the river, and typically you got some flow. It's more like a river. If you head back to the west and go down towards the dam, it's big, open. It's like a lake. And I always like to go to the lake and drag baits. But I said, no, we caught fish, anchor fishing yesterday. Let's go up. So we went up there that morning, right off the bat, first fish. We dropped down, and before I threw the second rod out, we caught like a 10-pounder. And I was like, hey, it's a small fish, but, they're going to be up the river. We didn't catch another fish until lunchtime. And by that time, we're panicking. We're throwing giant baits, thinking, now we got to make a comeback. We need 5 fish. And we fished around. We caught another fish at lunchtime, and it was like a 5-pound flathead. And we pulled up to the last spot. There was a spot, and it's right and close to Decatur, and I fished it 20 times. Every year I go up there, I always fish it because it looks so good. And I don't think I've ever caught a fish at it. I may have caught 1 fish there in the past. But it always looks so good. I told my buddy, I said, let's just go hit that spot, man. He's like, you said you never caught a fish there. I was like, we ain't caught no other fish today. Let's go. So we left, and we ran all the way back down there. And there was 8 minutes, and we had 2 fish, but we needed 5. In 8 minutes, we caught 4 fish and coiled out, and we caught enough fish to wait to finish in 10th place.
Wow.
And it was just, I would have never thought, we were so with all the rain that happened, but man, we never gave up, we never gave up on that tournament. And it was that one spot. And how many people have ever fished a spot, 15 or 20 times and never caught a fish at it? Most of the time you've marked that off your list. It don't take me 2 or 3 times to go somewhere and I'm like, I ain't going back to that hole, that area. But for some reason I was just like, man, that spot, and
what's the conditions? The conditions of that spot. What was in that spot, the structure in that spot, or whatever was in that spot kept on drawing your eyes. There's got to be fish there. Got to be.
Yeah. All right. So man, it was really cool because it's just north of Decatur. There's this big metal piling, a barge landing area where they dock the barges up against and unload a barge. So you've got that. Well, just above it, I mean, right where that metal wall stops, you had this big blowout, and it was weird. It looks like a bomb went off. It's from where it had washed out over the years and kind of went in behind it just a little, but it wasn't much, man. It was only like 20 or 30 foot. But in Lake Wheeler, the banks are really straight. They're really, nice lined up. Well, this was just this nice indention, and right where it hit that wall, there was a deeper hole, and this whole bank was only 20, 25 foot. Well, it was like 30, 35 foot right out there. And it was where them barges turn around, and then them tugboats, and they push it and they blow it out. But then 30 yards up above it, you just had these big overhanging trees that overhung the bank, and it looked really similar to what I'd fished back at home. And there was just a big eddy in there, and it just looked so inviting because it looked like something that I would fish back home, minus the big metal wall. We don't have a lot of barge traffic, so we don't have a lot of big metal walls like that. But it was just beautiful hole, and when you drive down the riverbank, you could actually see it. And it was not something you had to find on side scan or anything like that. It was the physical bank looked good. And like I said, I'd fished it, and had never. We would call. Dan Lobby was with me one year, and we caught one fish there. He was like a 10-pound blue cat. So I went there with zero confidence, but we caught a 30-pound out of there, and we caught like a 18 or 19-pound under, in there, and I think we caught one other fish that was about 20, 25 pounds. But I mean, it got us exactly what we needed. And we caught those 4 fish in 8 minutes, to the point where when I hooked the last fish, I was telling him, I was like, what's the clock say? Because you had to have the fish in the boat by 3 o'clock. I mean, you have to stop fishing at 3 o'clock. If you're fighting the fish at 3 o'clock, that fish don't count. He has to be in your boat. You cannot no longer fish. And we put the last fish in the boat, and I said, what's the time? And he said 2:59. And I literally sat down and took a deep breath, and I grabbed my phone and swapped over to 3 o'clock. And it put us in 10th place, which was the last place that paid. We won $800 in the last minute of the tournament. I mean, that paid for our whole trip.
That's right. That is a positive story if there ever was one, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know what everybody else got out of it, but as a tournament fisherman myself, it just reinforced what I've learned over the last few years of tournament fishing, is you never give up, no matter what, no matter how hard it is, where you're at. You never give up. You put them baits in the waters. You fish it just as hard as if you were fishing out there, without being in a tournament. You have fun with it. You pull your lines. You change your baits out. You're constant. You're culling out if you are catching any fish. And as it goes, and you just never give up. And I know there's been. I went to. I can't remember the name of the. tournament, but it was the first time. It was a tournament that Southeastern Catfish Club had put on over on Lake Wheeler, not Wheeler. Oh shoot, not Alabama. It's in Wateree, on Lake Wateree.
Yeah, no.
A couple of years ago, and it was a 2-day tournament. I'd never fished Wateree in my life. I had a couple of buddies who did fish up that way, kind of give me some pointers as far as where to go. First day I went out there, I come in with a few fish. It wasn't no major nothing, but it was hard fishing that day. I mean, it took me, we started it at 7 o'clock. I think our first fish hit around 12. We had to be off the water at 3, and we actually had to be back within the buoys at the dock by 3 o'clock. Didn't catch our first fish until around 12 or so. Just kept fishing, dragging baits, and of course I was looking at the graph, in the Navionics to try to get a feel for that particular lake where I was fishing and all, and I wasn't paying no attention to if there were fish there. I was just looking at ledges and things that you learn over the years, points and such as that, and I just kept going and kept going, and at about 15, and we went but about 10 minutes away from the because it was a straight shot, so well, but like 10 minutes away from the dock. And at about 10:45, I think it was, rod went down, had the biggest fish for that day, and I can't remember the exact weight of it, but it was the biggest fish of the day. Hit at about 10:40 to 10:45. Got that fish in, and while I'm bringing this fish in, I tell Pop, reel everything else up because we're going to have to go when I bring this one in, regardless of how big it is. And we made it back into the buoys just in time. That was the first day. You was talking about, it just, I like to look at, you was talking about that overhang, there on Wheeler and where the barges and everything. I call that looking sexy. When you spot when you spot an area and that area gives you that little tingly feeling, that makes your insides feel good. That's called looking. I said, man, that's a sexy looking spot right there, and I will fish it. I don't care how many times I've hit it. If it feels sexy, I will fish it. And so I told Pop, we went back out there that second day. I told Pop, I said, look, we actually started catching fish right here in this area. We're going to start our day at this area where we left off yesterday, and we're going to continue on. And of course, I'd done a little bit of homework that night as well, with Navionics and everything. And the second day we come in with a heck of a lot better fish. That second day, I think we culled about 20 fish total that second day out there. I mean, it was just just a super good day. And we didn't get any money, but I think it was like 60 something. I think there was around 60 to 70 something people. I want to say it was about 70 something people in that, or boats in that tournament. We come in the lower range of, I think it was around 27th or 28th, if I remember correctly. And place, not a bad placement at all when you know nothing about a lake, and everything. I know we've done got off on a tangent about tournament fishing and everything. My wife just while I was talking, my wife's like, let Kelly talk. Well, baby, Kelly don't feel too good, so I'm doing all the talking tonight.
No, I do have one thing to say. It's when Chad was talking about the overhangs of the trees behind the barge area, and saying it's kind of like what he looked at his home waters. And that's one aspect that I've tried to tell a lot of people is if you're fishing different waters, look for similarities where your home lake is to what you're fishing. Use those same style of structures, looking for those spots, because if they're going to be the fish are going to be in those spots at your home lake, they're going to be fishing that spot on other lakes.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Well, when I first started fishing, I was looking at, before I even got into YouTube, just started targeting catfish. I was looking at the likes of like Steve Douglas and Joe Jellison from Chat Cats and a lot of the what I consider bigger names. Matter of fact, one of the guys that I was watching on my home lake, who is in chat right now, and I wanted to say hello to, old Rebel Duke Outdoors. Him and his brother Larry Ward are in the chat tonight, and I wanted to say hello to both of them. Thank you for coming in, of course. And but anyways, I was watching them to see how they fished, what they fished for, what size they fished for, that kind of thing, and just kind of get a feel for what everybody did. Well, one of the questions that was posed to me was why are you watching? Because again, watching chat, Joe on Chat Cats and Steve Douglas and them, they fished the river systems, the Tennessee and Mississippi and such as that. And they asked me, said, a lot of people said, why are you watching them whenever you're a lake fisherman? Are you planning on, fishing the river system? And I said, well, not necessarily. I said, I like going to the lake. Well, why are you watching them? Well, because you can still learn quite a bit from these guys, regardless of the bodies that they're on. They've still got the same type. They may have rushing water, but it's just still the same type of fishing. You've got overhangs, you've got ledges, you've got points, you've got, drop offs, you've got all these things that you can take away from them in watching them fish and apply it to what and style of fishing that you're doing. Yeah. And I think it was Kelly, I can forgive me if I'm wrong with this. I think Kelly was saying, or you, Chad, was saying that we all fish differently, and and we do. We all have our own techniques. We learn by trial and error, and we have our own techniques of fishing and how do we catch them. But yet at the same time, we're taking away if you're worth your salt, so to speak, in fishing, you're taking the knowledge that those that have been before you, those that have more knowledge than you do, you're taking and watching what they're doing, and you're taking that knowledge and applying it to your way of fishing, and you're becoming more successful, or you should be becoming more successful.
Well, I mean, you look at it. This is I might fish a lake, somebody else might fish a river, but we're still using the same electronics. We're still using pretty much the same rigs and everything.
Sure.
You may pull planer boards and drift down a river. I may pull planer boards and drift down a lake. I mean, but we're still using the same techniques, just different bodies of water. We're still looking for the same structures, same big holes, same ledges, same everything. So really, when you break it down, we're really fishing exactly the same, just on different types of water.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're always, the key to it is to always look for a way to tweak what you're doing to make it better.
Oh yeah,
which is exactly what you said. I mean, those are things that I took. So it's funny, and Jeremy Colvin's in the chat right here with Fin Seeker TV, who just went fishing. Me and Jeremy just went fishing this week. He was down in Florida, and he come on the boat with me, and we went fishing. And did a live stream, and I got a little bit of footage, and he got a little bit of footage. I don't know if either one of us got enough footage because we spent most of the night going live. I don't know that we got enough footage to actually post a video. So the only way to access that for most people is going to be to go back through the through the live streams on each of our channels. But we had the same conversation this weekend, almost word for word what you guys just said, because Jeremy fishes a lake. He fishes a lake that has virtually no flow. He said if it floods, you might get some flow in the creeks where they're overflowing and, rushing out into the lake. He's like, other than that, he's like, you get a little bit of wind. That's it. When we fished on my home river this weekend, I mean, there's always a flow. It takes roughly an 8-ounce weight to keep you on the bottom, which is completely different than what he was fishing. So the first couple of fish that we were, he had to kind of get a feel for it. Not only, he's on my boat using my rods and, different things. So there's some differences there, but getting the feel of, fighting that fish through the current and trying to set the hook, and that was, a difference for Jeremy that we talked about. He was like, on the lake, I'm looking for a big log jam or there's a tree that's underwater. He's like, and I'm anchoring up, double anchoring on it and throwing back to it. And, and I'm all around that tree. Right. He's like, dude, we just drove up the bank for, 100 yards looking for a break in the canopies to get the bait to the bottom because you have so much structure, and it's just, it's crazy because it's so different, from one boat to the next. But yet at the same time, not on his lake. And I still learned a lot of valuable stuff talking to him because, he made comments throughout the night. Like I said, now we're nowhere around Jeremy's lake. We're not fishing with his stuff. We're not using his tack. We were on my body of water fishing my way because that's where we were at. And there were still things that I took that he said throughout the night that you can bet your butt I'm going to go back and apply that on one of my next fishing trips because it makes sense. And the little things that you think, man, I never even thought of that before, you know, and it can be something different from just leader length or how you tie your hook or which weight you use or braid versus mono and this whole toboggan.
And why you use it, and
you know,
why
you can take it, you know, and even if you set one rod up different, you know, that might be the difference in you catching the fish of a lifetime one day. So I mean, that is just, you know, it just blew my mind, you know, that conversation that we had and how I was learning stuff from him and we were using none of his tactics during that trip. I just thought, you know, but I'm still learning because I'm going to listen. You know, I mean, when if you start telling me I could do this to possibly catch more fish, yeah, I'm all ears because I want to catch more fish. You know?
Exactly.
Well, the thing is you show me a fisherman right now that's out there in the game that does not want to learn anymore, and I'll tell you that he's burnt out. He's done. He's not gonna. He don't fish anymore. He don't like the sport anymore.
Yep.
We're all still learning, no matter how long we've been doing this.
Shoot, my dad was in his 70s. You know, he and I started YouTube, you know, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I guess it was. And of course we were fishing together a couple of years prior to that, you know, nonstop before we decided to do YouTube. But he was in his 70s. He had just turned 70 or 71 whenever he and I started doing some real fishing. After he decided he was going to retire and come back down. And so, because he was living up in Atlanta, Georgia at the time, and he made his way back to where I'm at now, there's our hometown where I grew up, and so we started doing a lot of fishing. One of the things, you know, the old saying goes, you can't teach an old dog, you know, new tricks. Well, that's bull. I don't care who you are. That is,
you're right.
I can tell you truthfully, my pops, my dad, Bud McGill, the twerking monkey himself. Hence the title of our podcast, Twerking Tuesday, comes directly from his his nickname, Twerking Monkey. He learned quite a bit about fishing. It was an eye opener because he taught me to fish as a kid. He taught me how to go out and fish.
Yeah,
and then we decided to target fish, specifically catfish at the time. And we decided to target fish. And together, he and I grew and learned a lot of knowledge that we didn't previously know. He didn't know. And we took that from those that had been in the game longer than we were, and we applied it to our way of fishing and the style of fishing that we do. And then we turned around then and tried to teach others what we were being taught and how we were doing what we were doing. But all the way up through, you know, he passed in November, and all the way up through that point, he never quit learning. He would call me up. He'd go, "Hey, Kev," or he started calling me KB because everybody was calling me KB at that point.
Yeah.
But he says, "Hey, KB," he says, "Man," he says, "come over here. I got something to show you." And I'd go over to, you know, he lived right in my backyard out here, so I'd go over to the house or over to the camper where he was living, and he said, "Man, let me show you how to tie this hook, or let me show you what rig I come up with today, and see, let's put that in the." I mean, he was constantly learning and taking what he was learning and applying it and trying to apply it to our way of fishing, which in turn taught me, you know, and everything. So yeah, old dogs can learn new tricks.
Yeah. Hey, I actually caught one of the questions right here in chat that I would like to answer. And it was actually, it's from Max McKinney, who actually fishes down here by me. Max is a good friend of mine and has been on the boat with me numerous times and fish tournaments together. But that question right there. So it is. So that's actually a really good question, because Max only fishes rivers where he's at. I mean, he's 2.5 hours from the nearest lake that you could do your typical lake style fishing, which would be Lake Seminole for us.
Right.
To sum that up, you know, probably the number one thing that I would say would be to go drifting and dragging with someone who does it consistently and does it well, because that is such a great technique, but it's really hard. And it really is. It's really hard to learn how to drift and drag on video or YouTube. There's a lot of videos on it, and you can take that, but I've watched a lot of videos on it. It was really hard for me to put that into actually doing it and go out there and being able to catch fish. It took me going fishing with Ronnie Dixon, a friend of mine, years ago, and actually on the boat and say, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and you have to give it some time for it to work. And then when it worked, I was like, that's mind-blowing, how we're catching these catfish and we're moving. But if you don't have the opportunity to get out there and you don't have the equipment, because obviously it takes trolling motor, it takes drift socks and some wind and a little bit of knowledge to be able to to drift successfully. So it is a whole different set of things that you need. If you were just going to fish a lake and your plan was not to drift, you wanted to go try to figure out how to fish a lake, the number one thing that I would tell somebody is the first thing you got to do is put a second anchor in your boat.
Yep.
Because you can, where Max is, like, most of the time we don't even throw an anchor. We have so much structure that we can just pull up to a tree and clip off of it. And you got 3 or 4 5 mile an hour current that's going to keep your boat straight. And you're throwing everything behind the boat. And, you can't really do that in the lake. I mean, there's very little bit of stuff to even tie up to. If you get to the banks, you're in 2 foot of water. And if you want to fish out there along that river channel or in 15 or 20 or 30 foot of water, it either takes a substantial amount of wind, or a good day when they're moving some current, to keep you straight. But if you don't have those conditions, you have to double anchor. And anchoring to this day is one of the most deadly tactics that I use for big fish. And it's simple, but when you find that if you can double anchor, and you got to get used to having anchor out the back, because that thing will get you. You'll lose some fish on it. I mean, it's a whole different animal back there. But get you 2 good anchors, put some chain on them, get used to putting out 3 times the rope that you need. The little things about anchoring, and make sure that you get your boat where that thing don't move. You pull it tight where it don't move, and then you've set yourself up. At that point, then you're just anchor fishing. But the cool thing about a lake is now I don't have to throw directly behind the boat, man, because I'm not fighting the current and the wind. I can spread such a swath of baits out. I can throw every rod on my boat when I fish a lake. When I fish the river, I may can only throw, 4 rods, 6 rods, maybe 8 rods sometimes. I get in the lake, I can throw 15 or 20. Yeah. So, that would probably be the easiest thing I would say. If you've never been to a lake before, you need to go figure out how to do it.
Adding to that, because of the lake, because that's what I fish, is I look for ledges. You want to pull up on a ledge. You want to pull up, find your ledge, then back off that ledge, back up to where you're throwing bait into that deep, into the shallows, and on that edge. But also look for overhangs, because like my lake, which is Lake Cumberland, we have a lot of rock overhangs. So we have a lot of caves holes up underneath the rocks. We're going to hold big fish. So if you find them, best time to find them is when you are at, like our lake, we have winter pooling. So our water's down really, really low, probably 100 foot lower than normal. You can find those holes when you just walk the bank, find those holes, take your GPS, your map, and mark those spots. Say, okay, here's a big, huge hole. Here's a big, huge hole. Here's a big overhang. Here's a bunch of trees, big structure underneath the water that would be underwater. Mark them. So when you go back, when you get summer pooling back up, you can mark that and put that on your Navy Onyx. Say, hey, okay, we can go fish this spot. We can go fish this spot. I mean, perfect.
Because I wouldn't have thought of that. Because where we're at, we, our the only time our river, it'll flood, but our lake never gets below a certain point. We don't really have that option. But that's that's something that would absolutely, if you have a winter pool like that, and the bottom's going to fall out in the winter, absolutely go out and do some exploring, because I can tell you, you can learn them graphs all you want, but you won't never beat what you can look at with your eyes.
Exactly.
No, graph ain't gonna show you that. Graph's not gonna show you that overhanging rock that's got a 5 foot to 10 foot hole underneath of it that you know is gonna hold fish at one time. So it's not gonna show you that.
And that's the other thing too. You were talking, you hit it right on the head, Chad. One of the things, like as I stated before, one of the things that the knowledge that we had going into our style of fishing and everything was basically just sight. All the electronics, we'd never dealt with electronics, didn't know. It was a learning experience, especially for me. And
exactly how I learned.
Sight fishing. And we just learned. We learned several. There was, and I mentioned in some of my earlier videos, I mentioned a couple of these things. You learn, and before, if you ever started fishing before electronics, you learn these things. You learn watch your birds, where your birds are. You learn, look at your, what branches or trees for that matter are kind of overhanging the bank. Grass patches, especially for bait. You find a good grass patch, especially one that's kind of back up off that bank a little bit, and you can have a get right up next to that grass patch and go in behind it in that little shallower little pool of water that's right behind that grass patch, or you'll kill the bluegills just swinging out of there, one right after the other. You learn these things, without having to have all these graphs. Trial and error. That's all that boils down to. Then you get used to your to your equipment, and you start seeing, oh, well, now this is why this spot does so well, because you got a ledge right here. This is why this spot does so, because there's a 25-foot hole right here that I never knew existed. I knew there was a deep place right here, just never knew it was a 25-foot hole. So it starts bringing old school and new school together, which is some of the conversations that Pop and I had while we was out on the boat. And you start doing a hell of a lot, a lot better than than you ever would have. You learn, and it's all about trial and error. I wanted to mention, I got this highlighted here from Jeremy's tournament cast. I was talking about double anchoring. Double anchoring is an amazing and strong technique for our lake here on Santee. 250 foot of hanks of rope is a good length to go with, in my opinion. I agree with the 150, especially on Santee for sure. If I had to, as Max was saying, if I had to give any advice to a river fisherman about coming into a lake fisherman, as you stated, Chad, double anchoring definitely. You don't necessarily have to go with 150 foot. I know a lot of guys that do 150 to 200 foot. I use 100 personally on each one. I do have 2 anchors on my boat. I have a good. It's one of the original design hurricane anchors is what it is. And I throw off the front of my boat, and then I pull back that 100-foot total, and then I drop off a 35-foot dumbbell. That's what I've got as an anchor on my back boat. On the back of my boat is a 35-pound dumbbell. You drop it off the back, or you toss it out if you can, and then you just pull that sucker tight up to about 70 foot, 75 foot out, in between it, and pull it tight, and you sandwich or you hammock that boat in between those 2 anchors, and like you said, man, you can fish all the way around that boat. You don't have to worry about just putting off and run. That's the reason I've got 12. That's the reason I've got 12 rod holders on my boat now, and I'm probably about to put 4 more on each side. Because I can do these kind of things, and not have to worry about getting tangled up with each other, because I can throw them shallow, or I can throw them deep, or whatever the case may be. But yeah. The 150 foot on Santee, I just about agree with that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like I said, it took me a long time to realize, because I'd go to a spot and I'd say, all right, I like it right here. The dam's this way, so the current should be going this way, and it looks like it's going that way, so I can anchor here, and my boat's going to stay this way. No, as soon as the wind blows, and then I'm out there fighting, and I'm mad, and I'm aggravated, and all my lines are tangled up, nothing's working right. So you have to double anchor, but that's just such a, and like I said, it's weird because that's a beginner technique. That's what I would say. Like the number one thing, like if you're going to go to a lake, and you're used to anchor fishing, or used to, fishing on the bottom. That's what you have to do. But I drift and drag all over the country. But when it comes down to catching big fish, I always go back to double anchoring because when I see him or I see that one log and I say, it's going to be a big one patrolling that log right there, that specific ledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like what Kelly said earlier was about, when you hit the ledge, but because when I'm dragging, I fish flats and fields and this and that, and I'll drag 2 foot of water for hours. I love it. I mean, I'll fish water so shallow that I got to trim my motor slam up. But when you fish a ledge, just because it's 10, 15 foot and drops off to 30 foot, don't put all your baits in 30 foot of water.
No.
Put them on the ledge and put them on top because you do not know. I mean, I've caught a lot of fish out of the shallow side of the ledge, and that is really just.
Well, it's just like I think what me and 3+1 Larry and Cody did this weekend is, I mean, we fished the ledges, we fished the flats, we fished the channel. I mean, we fished all different because we had it spread out 8 rods all the way across the back of the boat, dragging, pulling planer boards and do that. So we were hitting every one of those scenarios. Your shallows, your deep channel, your ledges. So I mean, we were doing that, and that's where we caught my biggest PB so far.
I've caught my PB come out of 2.5 foot of water.
So did mine. Matter of fact, the Monster Cat Quest, Kelly knows this, and a lot of people know this, but my biggest blue cat is an Arkansas blue out of the Santee Cooper, and it was during the Monster Cat Quest, and it was 31 pounds, biggest fish I'd ever caught in my life at that point. That's my PB blue cat right now. I can't see for some reason I can't get out of the 30-pound club right for some reason right now, but it'll happen, man. It'll happen.
Man, yeah.
But I didn't know whenever I caught that cat cat hit that bait into 2 foot of water. I was right off of a point. I was talking about seeing a spot and saying how sexy that spot looks. That's what I did. I was with Catfish Bill 66 was on my boat during that tournament, and we hooked up right off of a point in between these 2 cypress trees, and I threw back directly off that point. And it wasn't until the next day that I realized, because I wanted to see how deep that water was. It was 2 foot of water, man, 31 pounds. And I was like, why does this fish feel like it's tumbling? I know now why it was tumbling.
And it's cool that you did that you went back at a later time and said, I caught that fish right there. I was on this point and I threw that way. I want to see what's over there. Why was that fish there? When you realized, because that's the same way mine was, I knew that we were fishing up on a ledge, and I knew it got shallower where that specific fish come from. I did not have a clue that it was 2 foot of water. How deep it was. I didn't have a clue. I thought it was 5 or 6 foot of water, but when I drove my boat over there on it and realized, oh, dude, there's a little shoal bar right here, and there's no water here. But the spot that I was telling you about, Santee, where me and my wife fished that day, we had drove baits all morning. We tied up to that tree just to basically because I just wanted to relax for a few minutes to eat my lunch.
Yeah.
And when I threw the rods out, and I could only throw them so far because I still had drifting weights on them. And you can only throw, you can only throw a drifting or dragging weight so far, because it tumbles and tangles up, when you try to throw it. But I looked back there and it looked like a Christmas tree because you could see all my peg floats on top of the water. And I was like, well, and that fish, those 2 big fish hit that, in 2 foot of water, with the bait suspended, 6 inches below the top of the water because the peg floated it up.
Right.
Yep.
And my wife had a fish that day that hit on her side of the boat. She was never even able to get a hand on the rod before he broke our line.
Wow.
But it was one of them that I'll remember forever.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, hit it, laid it down, 2 foot of water, and you could see a wake out there, just like an explosion. But I mean, we never turned it down. Laid the rod down. She jumped up. About the time she got to it, line popped up. We'll never know. But at that time, I was using Abu Garcia reels, and I've since went to run Shimano Dakotas now. But I had an Abu Garcia 7,000, and he pulled line off of it. It was coming off that reel as fast as it would have come off if I'd have threw it.
Wow.
You know, and I said,
really?
I just look, you know, I mean, we talk about that still to this day. I mean, you know, but yeah, when you go to a lake, don't give up on the shallow water.
No.
This speaking of that, Max Bikini asked basically asked the question: so fish the contour lines best you can. And then I noticed he just made another comment here. It says, I don't have a depth finder on my boat. I feel like I do better without it because I'm not second guessing what I think is going to work. And I understand that, Max, to a certain degree, because when you have that equipment and you're looking at that equipment, and you're looking at what you think is down there or not down there for that matter. I have come to learn, don't ever give up on your gut. You know, if your gut feels like there's something there, fish it, regardless of what that fish finder may say. If you're watching that fish finder, regardless of what it say, fish it, because if it feels sexy, trust me, sexy things is about to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially those contour lines, because if the water is beating out the wall and making a little indentation in that wall and causing an eddy, you're gonna have a big fish in that eddy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, and if you've got current, you know, or you're in a river, I agree with Max. You know, and I've got a Solix, you know, I mean a Humminbird Solix on my boat, and when I fish the river, you know, I mean, I look at it just to know what the depth is, but I don't care what that thing shows. I'm not looking for fish on it, you know. I'm looking for that sexy spot, like you said. But when you get out in the middle of a lake, such as Santee or something, everything looks the same. You know, so it is kind of important, you know, to have but you something with a graph or something, you know, to at least know where the channel runs through there. Because if you don't have, you know, some type of graph on your boat, it's really hard to find those contour lines, you know. I mean, unless you're on a channel ledge that's clearly marked with buoys. You know,
well, I think personally, when it comes to equipment, this is a personal opinion, mind you, of my own doing. But when it comes to the equipment, because I mainly use mine, like you said, I mainly use mine for depths. When I first started using, I started out with a Lowrance Hook 9 is what I had, and
that's good.
I was trying to figure it out, and I was, you know, watching my down imaging and all that. I had it, you know, with a down imaging, and I was trying to figure all that out. And I'd see fish, and we'd always have a game plan. You know, when we went out to that particular day, we're going here. We're going to fish this spot. If this spot doesn't produce, we're going to go to the next spot. We had at least 3 areas that we were going to go fish, and it never failed. I'd be watching that graph, and I'd see fish, and I'm like, "Ooh, let's fish right here," and wouldn't catch nothing, wouldn't catch a thing. So we'd go on to our next spot, get to our next spot that we was going to fish, and we might catch 2 or 3, you know, and then we go to the next spot. Well, then once we didn't produce anything, and there'd be fish all over the graph, we wouldn't produce anything. Then we start dragging baits, and we were producing, we were getting those bites and everything. And so whenever I did, I said, I kind of learned. I was like, if I just start watching the depths, because I didn't have Navionics at the time, all I had was the Lowrance, and so if I start watching the depths and kind of ease in and out of these areas and just watch how it drops off, where those ledges are, kind of get a feel for it. Look, like you said, visually see what you're fishing, not just on a graph, but visually take and pinpoint an area. Okay, that oak tree right there, about 150 feet off that oak tree, there's about a 50-foot drop off right there. That's good to know, and you keep that up here. You don't keep it in a graph, you keep it here. And as long as you keep that all up there, then the next time you go out, or the next time you take someone out, with you, like you were with Jeremy and everything, this might be a really good spot, because this is where this hole is, or this is where this down tree was, or this is whatever, and you don't have to worry about your graphs. But watching that, I've gotten to where I'll pay attention to my graph. I mean, not my graph, but my the fish finder, is the fish. But about the only time I've gotten used to looking, instead of looking for big catfish or catfish instead of pinpointing catfish. I used to go, oh, there's a catfish. Oh, that's a big boy right there. Oh my God, that's a big boy. And trying to catch them. Now, what I'm looking for is bait balls.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Are they broke
Absolutely.
up, or are they suspended? Are those bait balls suspended, or are they broke up? If they're broke up, the fish are feeding. If the fish are feeding, you doggone know there's a big cat sitting in that area somewhere. Now here's another thing. How big is that bait ball? If it's a huge bait ball, you can forget about throwing baits. You might as well go on to the next spot. Why?
Yeah.
Because
and speaking of that too, it's also not just that one. If you got multiple big bait spots,
yeah, you might as well leave.
You're out of luck. You might as well just move on, go on somewhere else, because there's too much bait there that you throw your bait, no matter what it is. It could be chicken for all I care. They're not going to bite.
Yeah,
there's too much food for them.
They've already gorged themselves.
Yeah.
When I was up in Lake Wiley, I was like, we come across. I was on Richard Warskow's boat, and we come across and spotted in that area 3 fish that would have went easily 40 to 50 pounds. Easily 40, 50 pounds. But we didn't fish it. Why? Because they were right in the middle of one of the biggest white perch, balls, bait, what we call bait balls, white perch balls that we'd ever seen in our life. Or at least I had never seen in my life. And we was like, we could throw baits right in his mouth. And because he's already been up here gorging himself, he'll never touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what's the odds of him, biting yours when there's
so
4,000,
50 to 100 something baits running around them? Yeah.
Exactly. And so, whenever it did, I said, Richard asked, he says, what you guys want to do? You want to try and hit them or what? And we all come to the consensus, no, that's beautiful to look at on the graph. Yeah, it'd be beautiful to have in that boat. It could probably beat, my PB if I was putting it into the boat. Great. But why do I want to kill myself whenever I can go further down, maybe to the outskirts of that particular ball, and get another 30 or possibly a 40 pound that's sitting outside of the bait ball, the baited area. And I see Jim.
Just go, good gosh, Jim.
But
one word, Jim. One word.
But I know, like I said, that's one of the things that I'm looking, that I've learned to look more for is bait balls. In other words, if it's a huge bait ball, and it's just one big ball, I don't fool with that area. There's nothing feeding. If it's multiple little bait balls spread out, I'll fish it all day long.
Yeah.
If they're small, multiple bait balls. So now they're feeding. They're not, there's enough areas in between these multiple bait balls that you can put a piece of bait and catch that fish with some success.
Yeah.
And I also learned that if you go outside of that area, don't fish directly where the bait ball feeding frenzy is. Go outside the area. Go ahead and put a live bluegill or a live shad or a white perch or a blue ant or whatever you want, whatever live fish you have, put it on the hook, but go outside of that bait ball, because those predator fish, especially catfish, as we all know, are lazy. They don't like, especially the big boys, they don't like to chase the bait if they don't have to.
Yeah. And
if you go right outside of that bait ball and you put something that says, hey, big boy, come and get me, he's going to get it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, I use the analogy all the time, that catfish is an opportunistic eater. And that's like me. It doesn't matter if it's, all right, if I eat dinner tonight and then I go sit in my recliner and my wife is in the kitchen and she says, you want a slice of pizza or you want some ice cream? No, I just ate. I'm okay. I just ate. I don't need anything. Well, if she goes and brings a bowl of ice cream or a slice of pizza and sits it on the arm of my chair, well, I'm probably gonna eat it now because you've put it in front of me and you've given me that opportunity. And like I said, I'm lazy. I don't want to get up and but if it crosses in front of me, you know, and I didn't have to work for it, why not? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Larry Ward asked, in our opinion, actually he asked the chat in our opinion, this time of the year, what we feel was better bait, bluegill or shad. Truthfully, in my opinion, both.
I had to say it. Some people will tell you chicken too.
Well, yeah, but you know, chicken's kind of and my buddy Jim Rose, which I was laughing at for being in on restriction there. You know, he uses a lot of chicken and he does really well with chicken out there on Lake Sinclair. And it's, you know, and I think we've all had this conversation before concerning chicken, that we feel like it's that oil coming off that chicken that's actually doing the enticing, not so much the chicken itself.
Yeah.
But there's nothing beats a good bluegill or a good shad, you know, especially gizzard shad, or putting that bluegill on, or shellcracker for that matter, on live for those flatheads.
Well,
there's nothing better because that's what they're used to eating.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it's really hard to say what's the best at what specific time of the year, because I look at each scenario, you know, different. I'm looking to fish with what would possibly be in that area at that time. You know, so if I'm fishing some shallow water up next to some trees or a log jam or some brush, I'm probably going to lean more towards that live bluegill, you know, swimming around over there, because I feel like, you know, it's just something in my head, but I don't see a lot of, you know, if I'm going bluegill fishing, I don't go bluegill fishing in 110 foot of water.
Right.
You know, I go bluegill fishing in 5 or 10 or 20 foot of water. You know, I'm over there trying to catch them. So I think when you're in that depth, sometimes that may be better. Now, that being said, in 50 plus foot of water, I think is where you would lean to that shad or that skipjack or that white perch that could get, you know, could be out there in a school somewhere, get hit and fall to the bottom.
Right.
Which is probably what, you know, like I said, I don't know, but I don't know what bait fish, but if I go bluegill fishing, I'm not going to 120 foot of water. So I would want something that has a schooling fish that I would have a better chance to settle down in that water.
Well, you figure 150 foot of water. What schooling? Here's a better question. What fish, you know, is going to be able to withstand 100 to 150 foot of water the best?
Yeah.
Well, crappie being one of them. All right.
Yeah.
You know, they'll go deep like that. Another, if you can fish with them, that is. Bass is another one.
Yeah.
Stripers.
Yeah.
Those kind of fish.
Yeah.
And then your shad. When you're looking at water depth and you're fishing water, you know, deep waters like that, shad's probably one of your best bets. But you're still going to have to look at, in my opinion now, you know, this personal opinion and my way of fishing. Deep water, those 100, you know, 50 to 100 foot of waters, I'm looking at how they're suspended, how those big cats are suspended. Where are they suspended?
Well, we can't forget skipjack, because a lot of us have skipjack in our water too.
In the skipjacks, you guys have the skipjacks up there. We don't have them down here, or at least we don't, anyways. But yeah, you're correct, Chad. Look at what's in your water according to the depths and everything, and the way that water flows. You know, you could throw anything out there. That don't mean you're gonna get a bite.
Yeah, you know. Well, and the thing is, you can get a bite on anything. You know, the issue is, you know, giving yourself the best chance. You know, and the best chance, you know, then comes with, you know, getting something that's, you know, that's either supernatural to that body of water that those fish are used to seeing, they feel comfortable eating it, or going kind of the other direction, like chicken or something that's not in the water at all,
right? That
has enough scent and oil that brings those fish in from a further distance.
That's right. Yeah. That's why shrimp's so good. Those big jumbo shrimp, you know, and at least
shrimp, eel.
You know, they have a certain smell that those cats that entice those cats. You know, or for that matter, any fish for that matter, because they get curious as to what is this? What are they smelling? You know, what are they doing? And and so, you know, they're actually they're actually going to come and investigate, and then you might have one hungry enough that he's going to try it out, and then you hook him, and that's all good. But yeah, you're right. One of the things that if you fish on Lake Wiley, I'll put it this way: if you go to Lake Wiley, South Carolina, go over to Lake Wiley, and you ask anybody that fishes Lake Wiley, what is the best bait to use on Lake Wiley to catch catfish? The number one answer is going to be white perch. Mm-hmm. Why is it white perch? Because there's so many of them. Yeah. They produce so rapidly that it is overflowing with white perch.
Yeah. And they're easy to catch on that body of water as well.
Exactly.
Therefore, more people are going to be using them. So you're going to have the success on them as well.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Now, like Larry Ward was asking as far as bluegill or shad. Here on Lake Sinclair, where Larry goes, that's my body of water, Lake Sinclair. That's where I go to lake. Larry and his brother Logan from Rebel Dude Outdoors, who's in the chat as well. They'll tell you bluegill, shellcracker, and shad are plentiful in Lake Sinclair, especially if you know where to go catch them. And I've learned where to catch bait. I earned the nickname Bait Run from Junior War Scout because I can go catch bait. That ain't a problem.
You sure didn't show it in your video the other day.
Okay, whatever. But I mean, it's one of those things that if you can find out what's in that lake, that's what you want to use, especially if it's a lake you don't have no clue about, because your catch ratio is going to increase exponentially, or should anyways, and everything. But I was seeing some. Where was it at? I saw something concerning gar.
Talk about Chad had been telling like Max about if you see gar feeding, like to back off 100 yards or so, and you'll usually have blue cats behind it, feeding on what they don't eat.
Yeah, I don't run from gar. That's one thing I've learned. My bigger cats have come, right in the middle of gar, or right around gar, because I don't think those. I know a lot of people that when they're fishing, if you get a gar bite, that gar starts picking them apart, they'll leave the area. They'll say, I'm running from these gars. I don't want to be in this gar hole. No, I'll still fish all around them because they're there for a reason. I mean, a gar ain't stupid. Mm-hmm. He's going after the bait.
Yeah.
If you find a bait ball, you're going to find gar there too, but you're also going to find, those 50+ pound catfish are going to be where those gar are. Now, they might not be right in the middle of a gar.
Right.
A bunch of gar. They may be 50 yards or 100 yards off of them, but you can bet that if those gar are there, there'll be some blue cats. Blue cats especially.
Right.
Now, what's your opinion on turtles then? If you're fishing and you got turtle bites constantly.
Okay, so me and turtles don't really get along. Because down here, when we catch a turtle down here, it's a chance we catch a 150 pound alligator snapping turtle loggerhead.
Yeah.
Right.
And look, that's an aggravating dude right there. First of all, it take you 30 minutes to get him to the boat, because it's, like pulling a 75 Johnson up out the bottom down there. It's just, then when you get to the boat, them things is, I've had them, crack the side of, of a fiberglass boat, biting it so hard. So I don't really like turtles, but if I know that I'm getting some turtle bites, it does not bother me. Some areas that I see that have dead water, real slack water, I will see a lot of turtles in. Yep. And sometimes then I will move only for the fact that I get aggravated.
See, a lot of the waters that I fish on. Concept. Yeah, a lot of the waters I fish on, you'll see turtles pop up maybe by the dozen, pop up on top of the water.
But now, here's a question, Kelly, for that, since that's the case. How far off the bank are they?
40, 50 feet.
Exactly. And I imagine if I had to guess, it's fairly shallow right in that area.
Oh yeah.
And if I had to guess even further, I'd say probably another 10 feet off of them, there's a ledge.
No,
Or
it's
at
all
least
flat bottom.
does
That
it more
area was all flat bottom.
like it was constant all the way across?
Yeah, it was at least, I think we were sitting on 6 feet deep all the way across from one side to the other. It was just like a big mud flap. Flat all the way across.
Did you catch any big catfish on that mud flat with those turtles?
No.
Yeah,
just turtles.
And it is weird because, like I said, I've caught some big catfish around turtles, and when I fought turtles, and there's been times, but there's also been times where when I've caught one turtle, I've caught more than one turtle.
Yeah.
And you catch 2 or 3 turtles, and then you think down there, then I kind of get aggravated, and I think there's something going on down there.
The thing is stealing your bait. They sit there and they just pick your bait off there without you knowing it, because all you see is just a little tips moving on the rod. You're like, daggone turtle bite.
The reason I asked and was guessing about that, Kelly, was this. One of the things that I learned about turtles, they're going to stay fairly shallow. All right.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to, especially if there's any kind of a log down on the water, they'll love to go up on these logs and they'll sun themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually anywhere from 20 to, like you said, 30, 40 feet off of a bank, according to how that bank drops off. That's the reason I was asking about how the drop off was about another 10 foot or so past them. So, with that being said, turtles don't bother me. Why? Because if that is true, now your case that wasn't true, I probably would have just left the area and went to where there was more of a drop off and fixed that. But this is why. When I see that, I don't care if there's a turtle sunning itself. If it could be 10 dozen turtles sitting up in this spot, I'm going to go back off where it starts getting deeper. I'm going to back off to where there's a nice drop off, and I'm going to fish that one particular area.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason I do that is because cats will eat a turtle. They will go in and catch turtles. They will eat turtles.
Right.
Well, especially the soft shells.
Yes,
we get a lot of soft shells.
So if you're in a boat, now bank fishing, that's a whole different story. But if you're in a boat and you roll up into a shallow cove and there's 10 dozen turtles, back off to where it starts dropping off. I mean, I'm not talking that gradual drop. I'm talking it goes from like 6 foot to 10 to 15 automatically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm talking a nice little ledge, a nice little drop off, a nice little hole. And I guarantee you're going to find cats, whether of all sizes. Not, if there's plenty of cats in there, and unless you're going for numbers, I wouldn't fool with them too much. But the fact of the matter is they're going to be right outside. They're going to be right out there. We already know turtles are going for the little small shad and everything that are coming up in those shallows. Cat ain't stupid. Yep. He's going to follow the bait too. So come back off of that and watch. If you're going to watch your equipment, watch and see if you don't see a cat sitting right in there. 2 or 3 little cats right off that little ledge.
Yeah.
Turtles will never bother you.
And the thing is, buddy of mine's caught fish in those depths.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's caught 10, 15 pound blue cats in those spots. So I know there's fish in that depth. It's just getting frustrated when you're just got only enough bait that you know that you're going to be able to stay out there for a few hours. They're picking you clean.
Yeah. And that's where I think that's where it gets tough, with turtles, because they're all they're doing is they're picking you to death, and then you got to worry about, if your bait's down there inside a turtle's mouth and he's just chewing it up, it's hard for that blue cat or that flathead to come by and get it.
It is.
At that point.
Remember, Kelly, about 3 weeks or so ago, you remember I went up and to South Carolina to visit with old PD Fishing.
Yeah.
And you remember we went out there and the only thing I caught the day that I went up there, the only thing I caught was a little box turtle. All right. The reason we were bank fishing, we didn't take the boat, we were bank fishing off the big PD. And the reason I caught that turtle, the turtle didn't catch, I didn't bite the bait and get hooked. I snagged that turtle.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I snagged that turtle, I kept watching exactly like you were saying. I kept watching that tip doing this number right here. And then it'd go down and then it'd tip. And I knew exactly, because we already seen turtles in the area in the spot that we were fishing from the bank. And it just kept tip, and you get all excited and you go, that dad burn, turtle is going to drive me nuts. And I told old PD, I said, let me tell you something. I said, if he hits that bait again, I'm going to snatch his eyeballs out. You watch and see.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And I picked that rod up and I held it. And it kept tipping. And I could feel him hitting it. I could feel it every time he hit that rod. And he hit it real hard. I said, he'll do it again. And by that time he did it again, and I snatched back on that rod. And I brought that turtle into the bank. Of course, you've seen the picture of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I brought that turtle into the bank. Here's the thing. I caught him in his leg. I snatched his butt out of the water on his back leg. Because when I snatched back on that thing, it pulled that bait clean out of his mouth and caught that back leg coming through that water. I didn't have no more problems with no turtles whenever I got him back out there.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with relocating one and trying again.
Exactly. We've actually went over our little broadcast, but this has been a heck of a conversation, man. I've been having fun with this. I do have a question, though. It was one of the main things of tonight's title, and I have to ask, does size matter? How did that come about, brother? I want to understand. I want to understand your channel. How did that work out?
Yeah. All right. So it's real funny. So years ago, Dylan Eady, me and him used to fish together, and we kind of had a little, team on local tournament stuff, and we were kind of talking about getting some stickers. I'm talking about like 15 or 20 years ago. When we first started, 15 years ago, when we first really got into catfishing and all, we had a little old river boat and, trying to figure out a thing. And so he had went to Walmart and was getting some fishing tackle stuff. He just happened to walk through the vehicle section and looking for just odd end stuff, cup holders and stuff to mount on the boat. Mm-hmm. And there was a little, a magnetic emblem that goes on the side of your truck that said SizeMatters. Mm-hmm. And it was like $3 at the time. So he bought it and he was like, hey, it'd be cool to put this on the boat somewhere, because when we're fishing, size matters when you're fishing. May not matter anywhere else in life, but it matters when you're fishing, and it kind of had a ring to it, and I was like, size matters fishing, So when we got to the registration that week to do one of our local tournaments, they said, hey, team name. And we didn't even think about it. Size matters fishing, and we stuck that emblem on the side of the boat. Well, next thing you know, we had shirts made and all, and it just kind of stuck. Right. And it has, because of the name, it's something that's turned heads. The news channel, when we have a tournament trail now. It's the SizeMatters Trail. We host 4 tournaments a year down here, and we've got one coming up in September. If anybody on here is interested in any information, they can send that to me personally or follow the SizeMatters Trail. And SizeMatters is one word. But the local news, they always have they always make a funny comment when they report on it. But it's just a conversation piece. It really is. And I'll say this, when you're tournament fishing, size does matter. That's exactly it, because that's what we're all going after, the biggest fish. So yep. I don't care what boat you are out there. None of them can disagree with my statement when we go tournament fishing, because if you're not after the biggest fish, and what are you doing out there? But that being said, when I break that down back to when I was guiding, and my guide service was SizeMatters fishing as well. Like I said, I fished under that name for 15 years now. But when I was guiding, I always had to kind of correct myself sometimes guiding, because I would tell people, contrary to the name, when we're out here guiding, size doesn't really matter. It's about the experience that you have out there. So yeah, we're after the biggest fish, but at the end of the day, we're just out there, everybody's out there to have fun, enjoy themselves. We're out there to learn something. We're out there to take something, away with it. But, and some of my most memorable trips as a guide were not those trips where we caught the big fish. It was the ones where we worked our butt off for, a couple of dink fish, but what people don't realize is though that fish may have looked small to me, you know, who, you know, by some people's standards, you know, would fish professionally, you know, at that stage. To me, that fish, you know, was slightly disappointing because we didn't catch the 30 or 40 pounder that I wanted, you know, but to some people, you know, that 3 or 4 or 5 pound fish is an absolute giant, you know, that is, you know, people just don't realize. I mean, a 6 pound fish to somebody is bigger than anything they will ever put on the end of their line again.
Yep.
You know, and
well, it goes back to the statement I made earlier in the show. We was talking about, you know, going out there and bringing people on your boat, you know, not just as a guide service, but just in general. You know, when people want to start, you know, they see when you're in YouTube, they see what you do and what you're capable of, and they want to go fishing with you. They start, you know, especially anybody local, they want to fish with you. They want you to take them out and everything. And to them, like you said, what we would consider, a 4 or 5 pound catfish to us now is considered dinks.
Yeah.
You know, I remember personally when a 4 or 5 pound, matter of fact, how I got started in targeting catfish, you know, as big catfish, was my first time catching a 6 pound blue cat. And I thought,
you rode that thing around in the cooler for 2 days showing everybody.
I did when I caught my first 7 pound channel cat on a live stream. I rode that for almost a year.
Yeah, I mean, you pumped up about it, you know, and you know, well, and even if you go compare catfishing to bass fishing, you know, and I know that, you know, we tread, you know, thin waters there comparing catfishermen to bass fishermen, but you know, I mean, you think about it. These guys have $100,000 boats, just like we may have out there catfishing. They spend more money, you know. I mean, the same thing. They got the prettiest, nicest everything right around, you know, all day, and they come to the weigh-in, and you're holding up your fish on your thumb. Yeah. You know, and you're pinching these fish by the mouth, holding them up. Yeah, you know, I mean, and you got a 5 pounder, and you're thinking, hey, this is the lunker for the tournament. But then it's so funny because then you look at the local, you know, local tournament, you know, and the guy you know, you got a guy over there. Yeah, I caught a 3 fish bag of 120 pounds, and yeah, we placed 13th yesterday. You know what I mean? It's just it's so funny to compare it. You know, that is, and I think that is why, you know, and mark my words, I think in 10 years we will be looking back at these conversations that we have about catfishing, you know, in its growing stages. And I think we'll all be amazed at where catfishing is, because the one thing that catfishing has over any other sport, you know, fishing wise, especially, is you have the wow factor. When you pull those fish out, we're not holding these fish on our fingers. We are holding these fish on our shoulders. We're holding these fish with 2 hands. You know, 250-pound grown men are holding one fish up that's flopping and just beating their butt.
Not just that, we're weighing them. We're weighing them in the net because that's the only way to weigh them.
Yep,
exactly. And I think that we have the wow factor within the sport, and I think it's going to, you know, I can tell you, you know, if I could turn it to ESPN right now and watch a live, professionally, you know, live weigh-in, just like you see at the Bassmasters or something, if I could watch somebody, you know, that were literally wrapping their arms around fish as we do at our tournaments, that is captivating TV. And there's people that we see every day that see you pulling your boat to the river that have no clue what you're actually about to go out there and do. And then where you really get them is when you catch that 50 pounder and you take one picture with him and you lay him back down there and you let him swim away. You know, and everybody, you know, jumps up and down. What are you doing? Why didn't you eat him? Well, look, you know, how much fish do you think I can eat? You know,
exactly.
I mean, if I keep 3 5-pound fish, you know, I can feed my whole family twice.
Right.
You know, so I mean, I have no reason to keep those fish. You know, I just want to catch more 50-pound fish out there. You know, and it's a really cool thing.
And the only way to do that is put that 50-pound fish back in there.
No, exactly.
Well, I catch hell from a lot of people when it comes to, releasing. I got a guy that works with me right now, who follows my channel, and he says he told me the other day, he says I went to one of your playlists and I started just, I needed some background noise. A lot of it I'd already seen. I just wanted it to be in the background, everything. He said, and a couple of times, it caught my, something caught my attention. He said, some of the best moments that I caught watching your playlist from some of your other older videos was the fact when you kept fish. And I said, you must have been really watching some of my older videos if I was keeping fish, because I'm like you. Especially now that I'm truly targeting, catfish, targeting fish. I'm sport fishing, but I can go catch, 3 and 4 pound channel cats in a pond that I know is clean and good eating. I can catch 50 to 100 at a time out of this pond if I wanted to. That'll feed, like you said, it'll feed my family for doggone near 3 months,
Yeah, right.
So why do I want to keep these big fish? When these are the fish that are actually going to produce us bigger fish in the future.
Yeah,
they're good DNA genes.
Right.
And
that's
in there. Yep.
Yeah, and and I try not to, and I will say this, man. And I got, before we do get off, I got 2 things that I like to tell your audience while I'm on here, but that is, I try not to be the catfish police. If a man keeps a fish, that's his priority. That says, I don't control what you do with your fish. I try to lead by example. I do what I think is right, and I keep some fish every now and then. I'll keep a 5 or 10 pound flathead because I like to eat a flathead. I think he's a great eating fish. But like I said, I'm and I got a big family. We got 5 kids, but I can keep two or 3 10-pound flatheads. And man, we can have a fish fries, buddy. I mean, we can't eat all them fish, but I'm not going to catch fish and then just call everybody and say, hey, I caught a bunch of fish. I killed a bunch of fish. Y'all just come take all these fish. No, I can release those fish and you can go catch them. If you want to catch fish, give me a call. I'll take you out. We'll go catch some fish,
Exactly.
The same thing down with trot lines and bush hooks. You see that all the time, and guys catch a lot of fish and then they say, oh, I got more fish and I know what to do with. Well, let them go. That's what you can do with them. Let some of them go. Yep. And then one day they still going to be there.
Exactly.
But
and I'm in agreement with that as well. We grew up, or at least I know I did. My daddy used to say, or his pop used to say, if his granddaddy, my great granddaddy, my papa, ever were to ever visit us, so to speak, from the grave. My papa's been passed 40 years, well, not quite 40 years, about 35 years now. And he said he would probably the first thing he'd probably tell us, this was why, when we were fishing, he said, my granddaddy, your great granddaddy would probably tell us he ought to beat our butts for throwing them fish back. Simply because you kept what you caught.
But you're right. But on the same hand, I'm a firm believer that if my granddaddy seen the technology and the skill that I have today, that I'm able to go out and catch these fish with, he would also look at it from the ethical side too. Back then, if you did have a good night of fishing, you better keep them because, you was working 6-7 days a week back then, trying to, to earn a living and this and that, but we have so much technology now that it really is, man. It's come such a long ways, but it's almost unfair, that I can go, man, I can catch them drifting and dragging and suspending and anchoring and you name it. And I got skipjack and gizzard shad and mullet and, we have the tools at our hand now. We've got the best, the best rods in the country, the best line, the best tackle, the best apparel to feel good when you do it. We've got all of the tools at our disposal these days, man. And we're so blessed to be able to do it. I tell that as well all the time. I've got you see in the background, Dell's Tackle, has been a sponsor of mine for years. I think he's one of the best guys in the business, but I don't want him to be the only guy in the business.
Right.
You know,
no,
and that's something,
Right.
you know, man, like we're so lucky. As long as there's competition out there, these guys, Dale's Tackle, SmackDown Catfish, and Apex Predator Outfitters, Partners in Slime, Big Cat Fever, Catch the Fever, all these guys, that's who I use. River
Right.
Rats Real Pro, that's who I use. That doesn't mean that's who you got to use. You know,
No.
but the thing is, man, we're so lucky because we're getting the top-notch products, but we're getting those products because there's other companies out there and there's competition, you know. And when you run out of competition, none of these guys are going to try to make better products.
Yep.
You know,
you're right.
So there's got to be competition out there, and you know that is one thing that I do think holds the catfish industry back slightly. Is you know, you see some companies out there that like to bash other companies and products and this and that. And look, like I said, man, I'm not the catfish police. You know, if I think Dale's Tackle is great, I'm going to go make a video for Dale's Tackle, or if Dale's going to make a video out of his tackle, only thing I need to know is why Dale's Tackle is good. What makes Dale's Tackle good? I don't need to know why the next company is not good in his opinion. I don't even know why Dale's Tackle is good. That's all I need to know is why your product is good.
What does he bring to the table that nobody else brings?
Right. You know what I mean? And what kind of person are you when the cameras go off? And that's
exactly,
you know, that's something that I have over the years. I've been blessed. I really have, through social media, through my tournament fishing when I was guiding, you know, to start getting my name out there enough that, you know, look, I got a long ways to go. I'm growing, you know, but I do want to be somebody in the catfish industry one day that people look at as a positive figure. You know, that's my goal, is just to be positive in the industry, you know, you can go back and look on any of my social media pages. You'll never see a bad word on there. You know, I try to, you know, limit, you know, certain things we say and talk about. You know, I try not to be, like I said, contrary, you know, to the name. You know, it's my channel is family friendly entertainment. It always has been. I got many videos with my kids on the boat, doing the right things. I promote our sponsors the right way, and really just try to shed positivity. I think that's where, if we want to go to the next level with this thing, and you want to be able to, you know, if we want to see Kelly on TV one day weighing in fish, you know, on ESPN, we've got to, you know, when he picks up a new sponsor, we got to get on there and comment to him and say, hey, dude, congratulations, man. Dude, that's awesome, man. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. I hope you soar, because guess what? I want every one of my catfish buddies to get sponsored. I want them to have good items. I want them to have good things. And with all of that, man, that's how I'm going to get better things, you know, because I need you to succeed, and you to succeed, and I need everybody to succeed. We need the competition out there. You know, we need to push these products to the next level, you know, and that being said, I'm on swing over in. I know we're getting short on time. Been on here for a while, but I've really enjoyed talking to you guys.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I've really enjoyed this show, man. I've been on a lot of different shows over the years, and I've had a really good time tonight. One thing I would like to hit on, and I'll kind of swerve into that real quick. For the people that are watching this video, we've been on here for 1 hour and 53 minutes to this point. You know, there's 12 people watching right now. You got 32 likes on here, you know, and that's a good live stream. That's a nice live stream. You know, we're all a little long-winded, and we're well into this thing. So there's a lot of people that have come and gone. I've seen those numbers, you know, get up really high. Here's what I will say. The people out there, such as you guys, who are making a show, posting YouTube videos, doing something, sharing some content, and helping other anglers out. If you're watching this tonight and you want to figure out, how do I support this show? You know, there's so many different ways to do it. You know, by sending a product into the show and saying, hey, give this away on the stream. That's something. I know you guys are you know, you probably don't ask for those, but I'll say it on your behalf. You know what I mean? And you guys didn't ask me to say this, but this is just an opinion of mine. That, you know, if somebody wants to send in something to the show to give it away, maybe that helps somebody that's never had a chance to go fishing, to get out there to get that product they couldn't afford to get or whatever. So, you know, send something into the show, make a little donation to it. You know, these guys, you know, they may not publicize it, but there's a way. If you send them a message, they'll tell you how you can send money into the show. You don't have to do that. All they want, you know, but those are ways that you can do it. But the best way that you can, you know, you can support people out there putting on these shows and podcasts, because you guys have took, you know, we were on here for 30 minutes discussing this show beforehand, you know, and getting to know each other before we come on the air. So you guys are absolutely 2.5 hours into your night that you've donated. I wish people would just, you know, and it looks like your viewers have done a really good job of this, but to support the show, man, like get on there, hit the thumbs up button. You got 35 likes on there. We've got some more people to hit the thumbs up just in. Like hit the thumbs up button. That goes a long ways in you reaching the right algorithms on YouTube and Facebook and this and that. So get on there, hit the thumbs up button, leave the comment. You know, if you're reading the comments, man, just leave a comment. You ain't even got to say nothing important. Tell us, you know, where you guys are from. What's your biggest fish? You know, leave those comments on there. They've done a great job in the chat tonight talking and answering questions.
Or basically just leaving a comment what you took away from the show.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and sending a private message when the show's over and saying, hey, dude, that's great, man. Like, I want to have that guy back on there again. You know, or hey, he did good. What about Fin Seeker TV or Max, or what about this next guy? Like, you know, he would be good, man. He had some good stuff to say. But in sharing the post, that's something that I'm real bad about not doing. I get so caught up in watching and I'm texting and I'm communicating. You know, it's not too late. You know, we're about to get off this show shortly, but you guys can still get on there and just hit share, man. Share it to your favorite social media. And I mean, you know, link it to Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, especially, you know, I mean, share it on there, tag these guys in it and say, hey, you know, you'll just go check out their show. They have 2 different YouTube channels. Check them out, hit subscribe. It goes so far, you know, for you guys to be able to continue to do this show and emotionally, you know, you put a lot of effort into these shows, you know, doing it, man. So like getting the positive feedback, and I got to really commend your guys on here because they really keep this chat going. They're leaving a lot of comments and then they're answering questions or asking good questions, man. And that's refreshing to see that, you know, everybody gets in there, you know, we joke and we cut up and all, you know, but there's some really good information that's come through this chat.
It is.
Just tonight, man. So on behalf of, you know, myself, man, I'd like to say thank you guys for having me on here. And, you know, for your audience, man, that's been, you know, very refreshing to see, you know, them support the channel and just continue to do it. And, you know, when you get off of here, it's not too late. Just share it and say, hey, great show tonight. If you get bored, go back and look at this thing because every person that watches it is going to help you guys grow. And that goes for all of the content creators that's on here too. There's a lot of them on here that I watch their YouTube channels. Right. You know what I mean? You know, and that's a really good way for us to look out for each other, you know. So,
I agree.
You know,
absolutely.
Real quick, because we actually an hour over what we normally would be, and I've overstepped another show tonight, but I just felt like the information that was being given was worth the overstep, no doubt. I do need to ask a question. It was a question that I wanted to ask, and I should have asked this question way earlier. We do know you're in Florida, but what part of Florida? I know you mainly do Lake Seminole, I believe, as far as the lakes fishing. But what part of Florida are you in?
So I'm in the Florida Panhandle. I actually live in a small rural town that's probably about 45 minutes north of Panama City. But I actually live off the Apalachicola River. So
that's actually kind of funny because my wife just came back from a week's vacation down in Panama City.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like that's how a lot of people. And so that being said, I will say that. If any of your viewers, man, if y'all are ever down in this area and if you think, hey, maybe he's free, I want to see if he can go fishing, or, you know, or if you're trying to fish down here on the Apalachicola River or Lake Seminole or the Choctawhatchee River, you know, shoot me a message on the SizeMatters Fishing Facebook page. Everybody can find me on there. You can send me a message to my regular Chad Bailey page, but the SizeMatters Fishing page, you know, please go follow that page. But if Panama City is right down the road from me, there's a lot of people that come into Panama City every year, and I get tons of questions. Hey, I'm down here bank fishing. Max could probably tell you as good as anybody, that I always do my best to answer questions, if I can answer the phone, if I can answer a message on Facebook. I fish this area a lot. I fish all around the country. We're actually leaving Monday to go to Memphis, Tennessee, not Memphis, Helena, Arkansas, for the Cat Masters tournament in Helena. So we'll be down there next week. So hopefully some of you guys get on here and follow along. We'll be posting all kind of stuff on there. I'm sure we'll go live out there quite a bit from Helena on the Mississippi. We'll be doing a lot of bumping. I'm going out there with my buddy Tommy Jones. It'll be a good tournament. And then in 3 or 4 weeks, we'll be going to the Mississippi River Monsters in Memphis, Tennessee. So I travel a lot fishing the bigger catfish tournaments. That's something that I really, really enjoy doing.
Well, I know you're because we were talking about Panama earlier and everything, and you're not but about 3.5 hours from me, roughly, because I'm dead center of Georgia. So you're about 3.5, maybe 4 hours max from me.
Yeah, and I go up that way quite a bit. I see you had a couple of guys talking about Columbia earlier. And I fished Gordon, Columbia, Lake Eufaula, Lake Andrews. Fish up that way a lot. A buddy of mine, Greg Mace, he ran a catfish trail up there, Southern Catfish GA. And they had tournaments on Goat Rock and all that. And I was actually supposed to go to a tournament on Lake Blackshear recently and wasn't able to go. But yeah, I enjoy going up there and fishing too. So, if you guys ever have a tournament or something up there, and y'all don't hesitate to. I'm always willing to travel, and y'all hesitate to send me an invite. We'd love to come up there and help any way we can. Help promote the tournament, help fish it.
I was putting together the first of this year. I put together, or was putting together a tournament on Sinclair, on Lake Sinclair, and it was supposed to be in September 3rd to be exact. I've since put it on the back, on the back burner for the moment. I've just got so much going on right now. I can't put my mind and effort into it. And, but I do, I feel like anyways, as it stands right now, I am going to be putting that tournament on next year, probably around October instead of, is it around October, September, October instead.
If you're not doing the Halloween thing again.
Next year I probably won't be, and it's still up in the air whether I'm doing it this year. I've got to get with my buddy Will, but that's not here or now. But anyways, so yeah, whenever I get everything to there was my point in that was to tell you, once I get all of my ducks in a row and get it all set up, I'll definitely give you a holler, man. And it'll be a little short. It's not going to be a huge tournament.
Yeah, I look for any chance that I can, man, to come. And I'm real big in the industry about cross promoting them. And if there's any way that I can help, another trail or another YouTuber or Facebook guy, if there's any way that I can help, man, I just want to do it because, it's all about growing, and it's about growing catfishing in general. If any of you guys are interested, September 9th and 10th, we're having our SizeMatters Classic, which will be, it's a 24-hour tournament on Lake Seminole and the Apalachicola River. We will be at a really nice facility in Sneads, Florida. We've got the whole place, kind of rented out. We're going to have a lot of events going on and looking to try to get some music the night of the weigh-in and all. But it'll start on September 9th, which is a Friday night at 4:00 p.m. and you'll fish 24 hours. You can go to the river or the lake. You can go back and forth between them. All we got to do is know where you're at. It'll be a $200 entry fee, and then we're going to have about another $50 in, bonus pots, for a flathead pot and a target weight fish and all that. But it's a really cool tournament because it's going to be a 24-hour concept. It'll be a 3-fish weigh-in. So you've got 24 hours to just weigh in your 3 biggest fish. You can bring them in one at a time, however you want to do it. it's fine. But that'll be September 9th and 10th. It'll be on Lake Seminole. It's the SizeMatters Classic. And, you know, if you guys follow the SizeMatters Trail on Facebook, we got all the information up there. You can get signed up on there. But, man, I'd love to have everybody that's interested come down and fish with us. I don't personally fish the tournament. I just host it. So I will be there all night. Somebody wants to come down and hang out with us. And I'll be willing to spend 24 hours with you. We'll be there the whole time weighing in fish. And it's just going to be a really good tournament. And I like that long concept. It gives you a lot of time, you know, for somebody like you, if you're going to come down and fish, you know, now you're not coming down just for 8 hours. You're coming down and really getting to put in some time on that water. It gives you a lot better chance to put your tactics into use on a new body of water.
There you go.
I thought it was a really cool concept.
I'll tell you what, send me that information through Messenger.
Okay. Yeah.
And, that way I can kind of put it in. There's been several tournaments that I haven't fished them, but that people have done that 24-hour concept, and it seems like it's been pretty successful.
Yeah.
And, you know, or they'll do all night, 12 hours. 12
yeah,
hours.
we do. Most of our tournaments are 12 to 15 hours. Most of our tournaments are throughout the night, but this one we're just stretching it out a little bit longer. You know, it's kind of our classic, the end of the year thing.
That's right.
And, just a really, I think it'll be pretty neat. But the only other thing, man, that I wanted to make sure that I said on here, and I know that we won't beat it too much, but just going back on that tournament fishing, one thing that I will tell people, man, it's probably a really common question. People say, what do you look for? You know, not necessarily what are you looking for at the tournament, but it is, what is your goal when you go fish a tournament? What is your goal? And my goal is, obviously everybody wants to win the tournament. But don't judge yourself by how many times you win a tournament or how many times you place or this and that. Do this. The next tournament you go to, especially if they're bigger tournaments, you know, and you're out of your comfort zone, you know, yeah, your local tournament, you want to try to win it, you know. But if you go to a bigger tournament, look at it this way. Just aim to get yourself into position in that tournament that one fish you can be in the money.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. You know, I fished Mississippi River Monsters 5 times before I ever weighed in a fish. And last year we finished in 19th up there. We were one fish away from being in the top 5. You know, I mean, we needed to call out a 25-pounder for a 50-pounder, and boom, we're in the top 5.
Yep.
You know, same concept. We finished 10th at the Catfish Classic. We were one fish away. You know, you've as long as you're within one fish, you have that chance. You have that opportunity. You go home with your head held high. You know, when you go and you don't catch a fish, those are the frustrating tournaments when you can't figure something out. So just aim to have yourself in shooting distance at the end of the tournament, whether it's a 2-day, 3-day tournament or a 1-day tournament. If you finish where one fish could have made the difference, even if it's a big one, even if you said, man, I was 80 pounds out. Well, guess what? You can catch an 80-pound fish. You know, if you're 160 pounds out on a 1-day tournament, yeah, you got it handed to you. You know, you probably ain't gonna catch a 160-pound fish, but you could absolutely catch a 70 or an 80-pound fish, and you know, and win that tournament. So that's just something I know a lot of guys were asking about tournament fishing earlier, but that's my goal when I go fish a tournament. I'm going to finish in the top percentile and giving myself an opportunity to bring home money on the last day.
That's right. I have as of yet, well, I take that back. I started to say I have as of yet to enter into a tournament in which I didn't at least place in the middle of the pack, you know, somewhere in the middle to upper part of the pack. And I say I kind of take that back. I fished one tournament it was a local tournament. I had Jim Rhodes as my partner for that particular day. Turned out to be a bad day for everybody, actually, because we'd had some storm fronts come through. We literally didn't catch anything. I mean, not a thing during the tournament. And we drove that. And this is our own lake. This is the lake we know, you know. Yeah. Between the two of us having fished this lake, Jim having fished it a lot longer than me, we caught nothing, man. It was terrible. But we weren't the only ones that particular day, you know, that came in with a big old fat skunk. So it didn't make, you know, it made us feel better once we figured it all out.
Yeah, I fished a local tournament this weekend with 19 boats in it, and I took my 2 youngest sons, and we didn't weigh. So we had 60 pounds. We had 3 fish for 60 pounds, and we would have probably been in that would have put us in the top 10. But we chose to not weigh them. I knew that we didn't have what we needed to win, and it was an all-night tournament. We was tired. We ended up choosing to go home and go to bed, which typically I don't skip a weigh-in because I like to go, I like to go to the weigh-in to support the people that did well. But I mean, I had my 2 boys, and we were tired. And we came home and slept the whole day. But that just shows you, man. I mean, I travel all around fishing, pretty expensive and extensive tournaments, and and we'll be at the Mega Bucks tournament in Helena next year, and that's a big old fat entry fee. We were blessed enough to be offered a spot and get in it, but like I said, I fished a local tournament, didn't weigh in fish, so I mean, technically I finished dead last in that tournament this weekend,
right?
But guess what? They got another one in 2 weeks, and I'm gonna be back. We're gonna go fish again. So,
and that's the other piece of advice I'd actually give as far as tournament fishing is concerned. Never be afraid to go back at it again. Just because you didn't do well, or maybe you didn't get into the money. Listen, that's fishing. I mean, anything and everything can happen. That's straight up fishing. Regardless of whether it's just for fun or if it's for the money. And if you go out there, and another thing too, and you'll probably agree with me, Chad, is if you go out there in a tournament and you are dead serious and you have got nothing but catching fish on your mind and you are going from one spot to the next and you're not having fun, guess what? You're not catching fish.
You got to when you fish a tournament, man, you got to be, you got to fish it with somebody that you enjoy spending time with. It's tough to fish a tournament with somebody that you don't get along with, but fish them with somebody that you get along with. Bring the right snacks and drinks and stuff that you can be pleasant while you're on the boat. You don't want to be out there killing yourself. I mean, if it's hot, put the bimini top up. So what if you get a little bit extra wind, man? Make yourself comfortable. I mean, if you know it's gonna rain, bring your rain suit. I mean, don't be scared to put the heater on the boat. You know what I mean? Hey, you put a fan on there. Be comfortable and enjoy yourself because, back in 2018, right, the year before we went to the Santee Cooper tournament, I bought a brand new boat. I got a G3 Sportsman 200.
Right.
And before that, I fished. I actually had a Carolina Skiff before that, which was a really nice boat as well. But before that, I fished off of some pretty rough boats, And when I bought that boat, it didn't make me catch fish any better. I don't fish no better out of it, I do. But what I can do now is I can fish comfortably.
Right.
I can fish comfortably. I can fish confidently, and that makes a difference. I think there's something to say about confidence. And I'm a like I said, Apex Predator Outfitters is one of our sponsors, and they actually make these shirts. This is my Apex Predator SizeMatters fishing shirt. It's a really nice shirt. If y'all want them, go check them out at Apex Predator Outfitters. We actually get a little commission off of every shirt.
I was going to ask you where to get your merchandise from.
Yep. So you can get these shirts from ApexPredatorOutfitters.com. If anybody goes on my SizeMatters fishing page, they'll definitely see some links to it there. But he has a Support Your Predators program. And we're one of the ones blessed enough to be in that program. He makes our shirts, and they're really nice. But I mean, he's got a lot of really cool stylish shirts. But what I'm getting at with that is that going kind of back to the boat. My mom told me when I was real young, when it was the day that we would take like our CTBS tests or those FCAT tests, those big tests that you take at the end of the year. Yeah. I'd always wear a button-up shirt and a tie. I may wear blue jeans, but I'd always wear a nice shirt. And I used to always ask my mom, so why do I have to dress up? Why can't I just wear a Nike shirt or something, like I would wear any other day? And she said, well, if you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you perform good.
There you go.
So it's not always about having like the coolest looking stuff, but it is about feeling comfortable in what you're using. So, by all means, man, I mean, it doesn't take the best, nicest stuff out there to do it. But, if you're going to spend some money on something, spend money on something that makes you feel good,
There you go.
Spend the extra $20 and get that different color reel or that rod that you like, or buy that buddy's hat, and I'm a big component of that, feel good in yourself, man. And I think it goes a long ways.
Let me see if I can get this in here. You're talking about hats. I don't know if you remember the whisker sticks.
Yeah.
the little lights that used to go on the end of the. So Timothy Hardwick was the one that
Timothy
and everything, and I actually got that hat. The first thing about this hat was I liked the way it looked. It was just an awesome looking hat. I liked the fact that it was, a ball cap style hat. The colors were great, but the fact of the matter, whoops, it's coming out of state. The fact of the matter is that it was a great way of promoting and helping to promote Timothy. And I got to know Timothy pretty good. He no longer has the company; he doesn't do it anymore. But I kept the hat because it was such a nice hat. When I wear it, it feels good. Like you said, it makes me feel good when I feel good. And whether it's the confidence, whether it's the confidence level or if it's just a matter of, like you were saying, like your mom was saying, when you feel good, you perform better. I agree with that wholeheartedly. With that, I'm going to say this. Hold on just a second here. Jim states, don't take a giant banana on a boat with you named Kevin. Thank you, Jim. I am not the problem. I promise you this. But anyways,
I sometimes disagree.
When you feel good, you do perform better. I hate to do this because I have enjoyed the devil out of this conversation with you guys. And yes, Chad, I will. I mean, I've told a lot of people this, but you just can't cram a lot of information into these short shows sometimes. I would love to have you back on the show again and pick your brain about a few things. I think you got some great information. You've given us some great information tonight, concerning different waters and different ways of fishing and such as that. I think it'd be great to have you back on the show at some point in time to literally let's just continue this conversation. With that being said, Kelly, is there anything more that you need from us, brother?
Not from you all. Just we got a premiere. Don't forget to get premiere on Thursday night on 3+1 Outdoors YouTube channel.
Right. I've got my premiere tomorrow night at 7:00. This will be the last of the footage of the Lake Wiley saga. I'll be putting that out there, and we had a great time. Richard Warskow and Justin Wildor and all fishing off a big old. Well, I'm not going to say what I was fishing off of. I'm going to let you watch it. Let's just say it was $100,000 boat, and it was well worth the time being put on it.
Okay.
So let's see. What do we got? Matt from Want to Be Outdoors. That's right. We have Matt from Want to Be Outdoors on. He was in a few weeks back. What was that? Veterans. We were doing our veterans thing, wasn't we?
Yeah, the 4th of July. Right? Yeah, 4th of July veterans show.
That's right. And he didn't get a chance to talk much.
Thanks, Danny Stone.
Danny Stone. But we all know if Danny's on the show, he's going to talk.
Oh,
I mean, when I actually can't get a word in edgewise, I know I've got somebody that can out-talk me. But no, so yeah, we got Matt on next week and everything. Actually be on my channel this next week.
Yep.
Which of course we'll do like we always do. We throw the links out there on our media platforms for everybody to be able to follow and come in. And so be on the lookout for that. Chad, we'll get with you at some point in time and discuss another time that you can come in and let's discuss some more about your, basically what we didn't talk about tonight. You did answer the question though, which was the main thing. Does size matter? And it's a question. It's an answer of yes and no. Yeah. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I am, I'm literally, I don't know. You're right. It doesn't. Size matters when you're out there targeting them, but if you're out there just having a fun time, it doesn't matter. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Cody is trying to bash me, buddy. You don't know what you're getting into. Kevin talking about
true. But it is true.
Tell a lot as a pot calling to go black.
The only reason why he's talking more than I am tonight is because I don't want to lose my voice. I'm already lost most of it anyways.
that's one of the reasons I have actually picked up the mantle a little bit better tonight, because I knew you wasn't feeling good. Yeah. Yes, I will talk my. Yeah, I know, baby. My wife's back here saying you'll talk about yourself of a snake. But no, brother.
That teddy bear.
Yeah, you know, she got a teddy bear on her side tonight.
I get her rolling. I can get her rolling. I know exactly how to get her rolling.
Oh yeah.
Donkey.
But anyways, yeah, we're gonna need to go ahead and end this thing. Chad, again, thank you for having us. Thank you for being on the show with us tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you guys for having me.
I definitely want to get with you at some time in a later date, and we'll do this again at some point. Maybe bring a couple of guys up, at the same time, that type of thing. Yeah. So send me that information if you would concerning that the SizeMatters fishing, the 24-hour. I'd love to have that information, even if it was just me going down there just to, like you said, sit around and maybe throw a line in the water just to not be a part of the tournament itself, man. I think it's a great idea. I think it'd be something to be awesome to be a part of. Anything else, buddy?
No, I mean, I don't have nothing, man. Just hey, you guys, if you happen to go over to SizeMatters Fishing on our YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up, and be sure you subscribe, and like I said, continue to share these guys' stuff, man. They're doing a great thing. I had a real good time on here, and man, I'm so excited for you guys, man. I can't wait to see where your guys are at 1 year from now, man. I think you're doing a great thing, and I really look forward to seeing this grow, man, and seeing you guys help put this information out for the anglers out there that are wanting to absorb it. So great job.
I thank you for that, brother. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, Kelly, I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast tonight, brother.
Go end it.
10-4. Ladies and gentlemen of the chat, thank you for being in here with us tonight. We will be next week with Matt from Want to Be Outdoors, as I stated earlier, and look forward to seeing all you great cats and, well, we're just going to say cats in the chats next week. As I was saying, you all have a great night, and we will be seeing you on the water.